So awesome. All right, we're live. Thank you for joining me. I just wanted to pop on. Me and the boys were in the podcast studio today, and we're trying to record the first episodes for our Seasons of Man before we launch in March. And I tell you what, after about, I don't know, recording about 8, maybe 10 episodes, and I tell you what I learned today. We were in there for a couple hours, and is that there is such a potential for communication gap between generations, and especially even between fathers and sons. And I'll tell you, me and my sons we're very close. All of us, we're always together. We're always doing things, and we've been working on this project for the last couple of months. And today, I don't know if they were just tired or I was tired or we had a schedule, but I just like it hit me, and I know these things, and it's like, man, we're like talking two different languages, and and I tell you, it was good opportunities for us to kind of explore that, and what does it mean on the bigger implication, and for dads and say, I don't say older adults, but adults that a lot of times we just talk and we just assume that our kids or younger people, that they understand what we're talking about, and because we know, so we just assume, and what happens is there's a lack of communication, miscommunication, and then there's unrealistic expectations. Like when I say something to my sons, I expect them to know what I'm talking about, and I expect them to do what it is that I've asked them to do. And we're talking boys that are 13 and 15 and 16 and 21 years old. And but just like tonight, we're sitting in a recording studio, and we had a topic and we're talking about it. And me and the 21-year-old Keaton, we're going back and forth having conversation, and we'll ask the 13 or 15-year-old, and they're like, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. And my first thing is like how long have you been sitting there and not understanding what we were talking about? And they're like, well, we've been trying to catch up. We're trying to figure out what you're talking about. And just examples. Like I really wanted to talk about one of the topics was on this episode that we recorded was about peer pressure, and what is the effect on them in middle school and high school, and then Keaton just graduated college and getting ready to marry. So like, what's the effect of peer pressure? And me and their mom and my peers, like there's no question what we mean when we say peer pressure. I think in through social media, when people are talking about peer pressure, we assume that, well, you know what I'm talking about. But talking today, and then I'm asking the 13-year-old and Graham, and I'm like, well, what is there an effect? You're in middle school, and um, is there any effect on you? And he's like, starts talking, and I'm like, he's in circles, and then I realize he has absolutely no idea what he's talking about because he has no idea what I'm asking him about. So it was really such an opportunity for us to pump the brakes and think about this and understand that, and I know this. I mean, I'm a communicator, and but just assuming like we live in the same house, like we're the same family, we talk all the time. So it's like, how can you not know what I'm talking about? And but you know what? For some of these topics, these are things we've never talked about or in this context. And it can create confusion and maybe agitation and aggravation, and for one or both of the parties to be like, it's not worth it, never mind, never mind. That's Max's, our 16-year-old, that's his favorite, never mind. But we're not going to get anything done, especially as parents or men mentoring um, younger men and boys, mentoring them into manhood. We talk about things like alpha male, you know, and it's just assuming again that a 13-year-old knows what you're talking about, because what I've found is a lot of the language that I'm accustomed to, and maybe like my generation or the adult generation, um, there's different definitions. There's toxicity attached to a lot of these things because that's the way the world's trying to create confusion and chaos, especially for our boys and young men coming up. So, something as simple as peer pressure, and he didn't have a clear understanding on what it was, and neither did the 15-year-old, to the point of being able to communicate intelligently about it. And I don't mean academically, but just that you've got an understanding when we say peer pressure that we're talking about groups of people that are at your level, that are in your sphere, in your circle, that you probably best identify and relate to. So I just wanted to share that because it was a revelation, and like I said, this is about our eighth or maybe 10th show that we've recorded. We've not actually released any of them yet, but in the preparation leading up to that, it's really been a learning opportunity for all of us, and really me. And it's just a reminder that when we communicate with different generations or people with different experiences or understandings, that we've really got to be purposeful and intentional and be patient in the way that we communicate. Like instead of just talking at, try talking with. And because that's the communication model is I have a thought and I express it, and then the other person receives it, and then they process it, then they think through it, and they all formulate a response, and then they express it, and then I hear it, receive it, and that's the communication cycle. And of course, the better you're at communicating and understanding one another, the more seamless and efficient that cycle becomes. But when there's times where the brakes are pumped, or there's misunderstanding, or you miss a turn or something in that communication, it's when things break down. And especially in the home, dads, when we're raising our sons, and it's so easy to just get aggravated with them and like, never mind, I'll do it. Or you get angry, and maybe it turns to harsh, maybe criticism, when in reality they just generally don't understand, or they don't know the full complexity of what it is we're talking about. So I made some notes, just super brief, and I wanted to go over a couple things for bridging the communication gap, specifically between fathers and sons, and it could be mentors and mentees, and if you're discipling somebody. But the first thing is to start by acknowledging the differences. I mean, I'm almost 60 years old. Our youngest son is 13. Are there differences in our experience and our perspective and our age and our generations? Yeah, there's a ton of difference. So going into this conversation, acknowledging that there are differences, that there's different languages and slangs and dialect, and so I've got to catch myself because I will speak at an adult level or an academic level, and it's not where the boys have experienced. And then sometimes I'll get aggravated, and I'm like, just never mind. And that's not the way to do it. The other thing is to listen actively. Like we've both got to listen to each other. Otherwise, it's just a one-way model of one of us just vomiting words and the other just not listening. And really, the way a lot of us do it is we hear noise coming out of somebody's mouth, and we're really waiting for them to shut up so we can tell them what we think. And you're not even responding to what was originally said. So that's important, is to be patient and persistent and actively listen to what the other person's saying. The third thing is to avoid assumptions. You know, like if you don't understand, just ask. And if I'm speaking or you're speaking, don't just assume, well, they know what I'm talking about. It's easy to just stop for a moment and say, do you understand what I'm saying? Or hey, can tell me what you hear me say, and have them explain it back to you. You know, the fourth tip is find common ground. Find something that you're both interested in that you can talk about, and then you talk about it at a level that both are understanding. You know, and it's really important because I mean that's what relationships are based on. It's understanding that there's differences, but that you're looking for the commonalities. And on those commonalities is where you start making the connections. Dad, talk like by 13, 15, they love video games. And I don't know none of that. I don't want to know any of it. I mean, when I was a teenager, they were just coming out, and I enjoyed that. But I don't know. I don't know the technology. I don't know the game systems. I don't know the titles and all that. But my boys do. So it's important for me to be interested in that and to try to speak and about that. Even asking them to, "Well, tell me what's the latest thing. What's trending in video games or some of the new equipment." And then we start creating that relationship. The other thing is of course be respectful. It's easy to get aggravated if you're sharing or speaking or teaching, and the other person that just they don't seem interested. And maybe they're not interested because they don't fully understand what it is that you're talking about. I mean, I would have to imagine that if I'm in a forum or a classroom and there's a foreign language that I don't know being spoken, that I'm going to start checking my phone and texting my wife and get disengaged. So be respectful of the other person, and understand that we're both coming from different perspectives, and especially when we're talking to our sons and other men. Men really do. We speak the language of respect. And the moment that men feel like they're being disrespected, they check out. I don't care if you're trying to give them a passcode to $1,000,000. When men feel like they're being disrespected, they got nothing else to say. So be respectful. And then I touched on it, but the last thing I thought about was practice active communication. You know, I mean, just ask, and just talking about, hey, do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, tell me how you feel about what I said. And then get them to talk about, well, you know, I take it as if you're telling me this, or I feel like you're explaining that, and or I just feel like I don't know what you're saying. But be active about the process, because we get really in that social media mindset that I'm gonna write a post on social media, and I'm gonna hit send or post, and boom, it's out to the world. And I don't really care what your comments are or whether or not you look at it. And that's not being active. That is a one-way process. And that's not communication. That's giving, sharing, pushing information. So if you want to learn from my revelation and doing a podcast, and we're in a studio and we're four of us at a table, and it's a great opportunity to see the dynamics in real time, and read their facial expressions, their body positions, and it's really interesting. It's like I said, it's been a lesson for me, and I've had to learn, and I'm adjusting the way that I communicate, and if we should all want to be better communicators. I mean, you've got something in your mind, an idea, a passion, something you want to be an advocate for, um, just an expression. We should want to be able to communicate that clearly to where it's well received and understood. And hopefully that it's transformational in someone's life, that it makes an impact, that you're not just spouting out empty sounds that add nothing to the value of anybody's life. So really focus on building the bridge, in between the communication gaps between fathers and sons, and different generations, and men that you mentor, and younger guys that you talk to, and the conversation will be a lot more satisfying for everybody. So um, I can't wait to share these episodes with you. We're looking to launch soon in this month in March, and we're just getting things edited and cleaned up, so it'll be the best quality and you can enjoy it. So um, be sure to subscribe, and God bless you.